Hello everyone, welcome to Season 2 of Sqorck Shorts. To get back into things, we're going to do something a little bit different here. I'm going to show you over the next few episodes how to use command blocks to create your own mini quests, adventure maps, and things that you can use on your server or single player worlds to add entertainment and things that players can do. These command block quests will be able to give rewards out and talk to the players and interact with whoever is playing with it and do all sorts of different things. This first episode we're going to focus on the counting system that I use. It's a linear numeric progression that keeps track of the player's progress through a quest or through an adventure map, so that way things don't get out of order or things can be done in the same place and have different events happen at that same location. All this is much easier than I'm making it sound, and I'm just going to go into it and show you what it can do real quick. A very simple example. So I have a very small little building here with a little guy in there. So you walk up to it and it says welcome to the quest, and then gives you a little bit of information about the quest and what you need to do. You also notice in the right hand side of my screen that it says quest, Sqorck, and then 1. So it shows my name and then it shows the step that I'm on in this quest. Basically that's just there for debugging and so you can kind of keep track and follow along with at what point I am in the quest. So now I walk up to here, nothing happens anymore. I can push this button to recall the last task, and that just tells me what I need to do again. It says the same message there. And so it says I need to go 200 blocks west of here to get some medical crates. So I'm going to go fly all the way over here, and there's my crate that I need. So I open it up, and it says you have found 3 netherwort salves, and it gave me 3 netherwort. Then you'll look on the side again and it shows you there that I am on step 2 of this quest. So now when I come up to this guy, up to the window, it will set me to quest step 3, and it says thanks for getting my netherwort salve, please drop them in the drop box. So I walk over here, throw them in the little drop box, and now it set me to part 5 of the quest and gave me a reward and said a little thank you message. And it's a very, very simple example. This can be used in an incredibly vast number of ways. So I'm going to show you how to set it up now. When starting out with any of these quests, what you want to do is set up your initial setup system. So it's a single command block that is used to set up all of the things for your tracking system. So for this, I'm just doing the commands in this command block as scoreboard, which is calling the scoreboard system. Then objectives, and objectives is a part of the scoreboard system that is telling it what I'm wanting to do. And then I'm wanting to add, so this just means add a new objective basically. Then we're going to call it quest, and that's the name that I'm going to be using whenever I bring up what I want to do with this counting system. That's the name of my objective. And then this is the type of objective it is. It can be a number of different things. There's a bunch of them on the Wikipedia you can see, but for this sort of setup, I need to use the dummy, which is just a basic numeric variable. So it's just a number that changes from 1 to like several million. Once you have dummy typed in, then you're going to give it a display name. The display name is the name that shows right here on the right side above your name, and that's for any display. It can be lots of different types of displays. For a counting system like this, I generally won't have my display turned on at all except for testing. So now that I have that, I'm going to go restart or reset all of my things I already have. Reset all objectives. and I'm also going to turn on my display. Alright, so now I have all of that typed in. I'm going to push this button, and it says added new objective quest successfully. So now that's my objective. So now, in order to see what's going on with that, I'm going to use display. And setting up a display is the same sort of thing. You do /scoreboard, objectives, except instead of adding a new objective, you're going to be setting a display for one. So you do set display, spelled exactly like that. Then sidebar, this is the type of display we're setting up. So sidebar display is the one that displays on the side of your screen. And then you're going to put in the name of the quest. This is the name that you want for whatever your objective was that you set up in your first command block. So now we'll push that, and it says set display objective in slot sidebar to quest. So basically just set it up correctly. Alright, so the next part of this is setting up the player side of everything. So you're going to set up a command block, and this command block will be the first thing that's triggered whenever a player wants to activate a quest. So it's either going to be at the beginning of your adventure map or a person like that you talk to at a building like what we have over there. And so the player would walk up, push the button, and it would begin their quest. So it could have lines of dialogue telling them what to do or things like that. But this is what you have to set up for that player. So it's going to be /scoreboard. And then instead of doing objectives, this is now working with the player system of the scoreboard. So you type players and then space set, because right now we're going to set the value of what part of the quest we're on, or what our number needs to be at the start of this. So it's going to set the closest player, which is at P. So these three things are the different selection methods that we have using the @ sign, and then P will be the closest player, so whoever is closest to this button when they push it, and it will call upon this objective, which is the quest that we set up, the same name, using that same name all the way across there. It's case sensitive too, so you have to make sure that it's right. And then we're going to be setting our score to 1 by pushing this. So let's push it, and there you go. You can see it set my score to 1. So now I'm basically have started this quest. Okay, then there's a few things that as you go on to like the next stages of the quest, you can use different things to adjust what stage you're on. So this is the add function. Instead of using /player score or scoreboard players set, you're using add. So the add is the big difference here, and then it selects the closest player, sets it to quest, which is our objective. Then it's just adding 1 to it. So if we push this, it's just going to add 1 to what we already have. So 2, 3, 4, and so on. And it'll keep adding to it. This one here, we can use in the same way. It's the same thing except remove instead of add. And this just takes away from it. So now we have a counting system that is set up to an individual player, and it can be changed with command blocks or buttons or triggers or things like that as you move through it. This is another command that is somewhat useful for different things. It's a reset, so it's just scoreboard players reset closest player, and it'll reset my score back to nothing. So now we have our counting system completely set up, and it can be moved up and down and be triggered by different things. So what we need to do is make it so that you can take that number there that's keeping track of everything and put it into the real world and make it actually do stuff. So we'll set up a command block, and this one is going to just be a basic test for function. So we're going to type in here /test4, and it's that the test4 function basically is just checking. It's checking whenever this block is powered, it's going to check for something. So we want to check for the closest player, and then we're going to add some requirements to this selection. So whenever you have a target selection like random player, all players, or closest player, you can put requirements on this. Inside these brackets, you put your requirements. So a simple one would be a radius requirement. So you do R and then equals and then whatever you want your radius to be. So now something like this, it would test to see if there's a player, the closest player, within 5 blocks of this command block. So then it would put out, if you were to power this, it would test for that and then use a comparator to put an output if it was true or false. But we want to use something specific in these in this requirement parameter set that is for targeting players. And this is the scoreboard specific requirement, and this is just score underscore and then you type the name of your scoreboard, so quest in this case, and then you say what you want the maximum to be. So 4. So if our quest is at number 4 or below, it will send out a positive trigger. Now since we want, for this case, we want it to select only players that are at 4, not just players 4 and below, we'll need to use the requirement score underscore quest again. Same thing, except you're adding min on the back, so it's underscore min, and that's minimum, and then you'll just do equals 4. So now with both of those in here, it will only select a player that has the objective quest with it set to 4. It has to be set to 4 now, and then they also have to be within a radius of 5 because that's in there as well. So now, if I set up a button here and push this, nothing's going to happen. We need to put an output on it, so we'll put a comparator there and a repeater. Push it, nothing's happening, and this comparator just takes whatever statement in here is, and if it's a false statement, if it checks for that and it doesn't find anything, then it won't put any output here. If it checks for it and it does find something, it will put out a redstone signal here. So what I need to do here is add things up to my score until I get to 4. And once I'm at 4 and I push this button, it now puts an output. So for these things, it's best to use a clock or something so that this is constantly checking for it. So if I step away from it, it won't have an output, or if I change to a different thing, it will actually check for it. Like if you notice, I'd come over here, standing here with 3, nothing happens. But if I was to try and push that button again, it would turn off because I'm not a level 4 anymore. But then you can have this output go and open up a door, so it would only open up doors to people who are on certain stages of quest, or you could have it where it goes and sets you to a higher quest level or things like that. And you can do that for any of the places that has the selecting players. So if you want this to only be able to add to your quest thing when you're level 2, for example. So you just put the same thing in here, score underscore quest, and then equals 2. And then you put your minimum thing too. So another thing you can use in command blocks is copy and paste. So you just do that, and then underscore min for the minimum requirements for that. Now it has that as all of its requirements for the local player. So if I push this, it's not adding anything to me. But if I go down to 2, it will add, which is really useful. So that pretty much is the two sides of keeping track of all of your scores and how it can affect what things go on in your adventure. Here's a few other useful command blocks to use. You can have your display on and off. This is a debug setup. It's a game rule that you can do, so you just do /game rule space command block output true, or if you want to turn it off, command output false. And right now what you can tell with that is if I go reset all objectives, that little gray text in the bottom left of my screen where it says removed objective successfully or added, you can see how it kind of gets spammy. So if you were on an actual quest, you wouldn't want that, so you turn that off. So if it's off, and you try pushing those buttons and things are actually happening still, but they won't show up there. Another thing that's useful is resetting objectives. So you can do /scoreboard space objectives, remove, and then the name, and that will remove that objective that you set up. But that's pretty much the basics of this system, and it's a good foundation for some of the things we're going to be going over in future episodes here. I will be doing some build videos with it, but I want to get to the point where all of you guys can make your own adventure maps and quests on your servers and make something that's going to be fun for players and things like that. As always, thanks for watching. If you guys like this series and want to see more of it, remember to subscribe. See you guys next time.